The moment the little boy's voice echoed through the chilly evening air, the man froze mid-stride. The marketplace around him buzzed with life, vendors shouting last-minute prices, children tugging at their mother's sleeves, the smell of roasted corn blending with the heavy scent of rain lingering in the air. But none of it felt real to Daniel anymore. His heartbeat stumbled, sharp and sudden, the moment he caught sight of the stranger his son was pointing at. She stood beneath the flickering bulb of a roadside stall, her shoulders drooped with exhaustion, her hands trembling slightly as she held a familiar object close to her chest. It wasn't just any object, it was his old watch. The watch he had lost on the worst night of his life. The night everything fell apart. The night he had walked away from a woman he loved more than he ever admitted. His son tugged at his sleeve again, confused by the sudden stiffness in his father's posture, and Daniel forced himself to breathe as memories began unfurling like a storm he had spent years trying to outrun. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, because stories like this one deserve to reach hearts that need them. Daniel had never expected his life to circle back to this point. 6 years ago, he had been a different man, angry, overwhelmed, and drowning beneath pressures that he didn't know how to explain. His marriage had crumbled under the weight of misunderstandings and financial strain, and in a moment of weakness and pride, he had walked away, leaving behind the only woman who ever truly saw him. He carried guilt like a second skin afterward, especially after he heard she had left the city entirely. He never found her again, and eventually, life forced him to keep moving. His son, Ethan, came into his life through adoption 2 years later, when Daniel realized he wanted a chance to be the kind of father he should have been from the beginning. A steady, a present one, a good one. But even as he rebuilt himself piece by piece, the ghost of his past love clung to him. The watch she held now was more than metal and glass. It was a gift from her, a symbol of a promise he had broken. She had engraved a small line inside the panel, a line she once whispered to him on nights they couldn't sleep. "Time will bring us home." When he lost it, the night they argued for the last time, he had cried like a child on the drive home, knowing something inside him had snapped too deeply to repair. He never found the watch again. Until now. The market noises faded as Daniel slowly moved forward, his breath shallow, his mind spinning. From a distance, he could see the woman clearly now. Her hair was tied in a messy bun, strands escaping the knot. Her clothes were simple and worn, as if life had been hard on her. Her face, when she briefly looked up toward the sky, held the kind of tired sadness that couldn't be hidden anymore. Though older, thinner, and visibly worn, her features carved themselves into Daniel's mind with a painful familiarity. It was her. It was Lily. He had rehearsed 100 apologies over the years, crafted imaginary speeches, but now, standing only a few steps away, he couldn't bring himself to say anything. It was Ethan who spoke first in his small, innocent voice, once again noticing the tension in his father's stance. Daniel placed a hand on his son's back, grounding himself, reminding himself he was no longer the frightened, defensive man who had run once before. The boy beside him was living proof of the second chance life had given him. And maybe, just maybe, this was another. He approached quietly, his steps almost hesitant. Lily didn't notice him at first. She was too busy cleaning the watch's scratched surface on the edge of her shawl, as if trying to make it presentable before handing it to the vendor. Daniel's chest constricted at the sight. She was selling it, the object he once destroyed there. Relationship with had now become something she needed to let go of. Maybe for food, maybe for shelter, or maybe simply to detach herself from the past. Whatever her reason, the thought broke him. He gently called her name, and the sound of it caused her hand to still instantly. She didn't turn right away. He saw her shoulders tremble in a way he remembered well. Lily always shook slightly when overwhelmed. When she finally turned, her breath hitched. Her eyes widened briefly, then softened with something heavy and unreadable. Seconds stretched, fragile and tense, as though the universe itself was holding its breath. Their reunion was not dramatic, not loud, not filled with accusations. Instead, it was quiet, an emotional collision without words. Memories, heartbreak, regret, and longing compressed into a single shared glance. Lily looked away first, blinking rapidly as if she refused to let emotions drag her under again. Daniel swallowed hard as Ethan, unaware of the emotional earthquake unraveling between the adults, simply smiled politely at her. Daniel could see the weight she carried, the hardship carved into her posture, the cautious way she took a step back, the fear of history repeating itself. He didn't blame her. He had been the reason she learned not to expect permanence. She had always been the brave one. He had been the coward who walked away. He asked her softly what she was doing in the city, where she had been all these years, whether she was okay. Lily answered gently, choosing her words carefully, her voice steadier than her shaking hands. She told him she worked multiple jobs, doing her best to survive after life took unexpected turns. She wasn't married. She didn't have children. She kept moving, floating through places like a shadow whose presence nobody questioned. When she said she had kept the watch because it was the last piece of a love she once believed would last, Daniel had to look away to steady himself. But today, she admitted, she couldn't afford to keep holding on to memories when real-life necessities demanded sacrifice. Hearing those words fractured something inside him. Ethan, still unaware of the depth of the conversation, tugged at the watch in Lily's hand with childlike fascination. Daniel gently pulled him back, but Lily surprised him by smiling softly and kneeling to show the boy the watch properly. She explained it was old, delicate, and meaningful. And when the boy innocently asked why she held a watch that his daddy once had, Lily froze again, this time because her past and Daniel's present collided in the most unexpected way. Daniel knew he couldn't let her walk away again. Not like this, not in silence. So he asked if she would let him buy her dinner. She hesitated, clearly unsure if reopening old wounds was worth the risk. But after a long pause, she agreed, not for romance or nostalgia, but simply because she looked tired of being strong alone. They went to a small diner near the edge of the market. The rain began to fall in soft sheets outside, tapping gently against the window as if urging them to speak truth for once. In that quiet space, with the smell of fresh parathas in the air, Daniel finally allowed himself to confess the regrets he carried for years. He told her about the way he spiraled after their separation, how he lost his sense of self, how her absence became a void that nothing could fill. He told her he found Ethan at a time when he most needed purpose, and the boy saved him in a way Lily once did. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He simply told the truth he should have spoken long ago. And Lily listened. She wasn't angry. She wasn't bitter. She told him she once hated him, but time had been both cruel and kind. It softened some scars and deepened others. She didn't know if she believed in second chances, not with love, not with life, but she knew she was tired of running. She had spent years carrying her loneliness like luggage, moving from job to job, city to city, convincing herself she didn't need anyone. But reality had worn her down quietly. And when she looked at Ethan's bright, gentle smile, something in her heart cracked open. The evening stretched into night as they talked about everything they once ignored: fear, expectations, mistakes, dreams. The rain outside intensified, as if the sky too wanted to cleanse something old and aching. Near the end of their meal, Ethan leaned his small head against Lily's arm, trusting her instantly, and she froze, caught off guard by a tenderness she hadn't felt in years. Daniel watched the moment unfold with a quiet ache. He saw the way Lily softened, the way her eyes warmed, the way every wall she built trembled. In that moment, Daniel realized something. Maybe this unexpected meeting wasn't just a coincidence. Maybe the watch hadn't been lost. Maybe it had been waiting. If this story touches your heart so far, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps emotional stories reach more people who need them. They left the diner together, walking beneath one umbrella. And for the first time in years, Lily didn't rush ahead or walk behind. She walked beside them. When they reached a quiet corner, she handed the watch back to Daniel. Her eyes shimmered under the dim streetlight. She said she was done holding on to the past, not in a way that meant forgetting, but in a way that meant letting healing begin. Daniel didn't force anything. He simply held the watch gently, like a memory redeemed. They didn't plan a future that night. They didn't make promises or declarations. They simply stood together while Ethan laughed at puddles forming on the road, droplets splashing around his feet, and seeing Lily smiling softly at the boy, Daniel felt a rare kind of hope bloom inside him. Quiet, cautious, but alive. He offered to drive her home. She hesitated only a moment before nodding. Maybe life was giving them a chance to rewrite an ending that once shattered them both. Maybe healing came in the form of lost watches returned by fate. Maybe kindness still existed in the cracks of broken hearts. Before the story ends, I'd love if you could comment below something simple. I believe in second chances. As Daniel watched her step into the car, her shawl damp, her eyes glistening under the glow of passing headlights, he realized his chest no longer tightened in pain. It tightened with gratitude. Because sometimes life breaks us only to gather the pieces in a better shape. Sometimes love leaves to teach us who we are, only to return when we've learned enough to hold it gently. And sometimes the universe brings back the very person who once held your world together, right at the moment you're finally capable of cherishing them. If this story touched your heart, please make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support means more than you know.